Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Action Network podcast presented by DraftKings. I am your host, Evan Abrams, and I am joined by Brandon Anderson for our NFL recap show for Week 8. We will discuss what we saw today, look ahead briefly to Monday night's game with the Chiefs and the Commanders, plus we will get Brandon's hot read for next week. But before we start, I will empty out my notebook, some of the things that I saw today in terms of outliers, trends, streaks, things of that nature before we get into Sunday Night Football. Well, I guess today, most buys we will have all year. So in terms of the quality of football, which will be a topic today on this show, wasn't fantastic, and it was the fewest teams we will see play out. The funny thing is, we had talked about in previous shows the NFC dominating the AFC. Well, they said it on Sunday Night Football. AFC now 6-1 straight up versus the NFC today. A win by the Steelers would have made that 7-0 the best mark we've ever seen. So definitely something of a change there. And I think the biggest topic, and I just tweeted it out before we went on here, but favorites this week now 10-2 straight up and against the spread. 19-8 over the last 2 weeks. But if the Chiefs do cover on Monday Night Football against the Commanders, it'll be the best win percentage for favorites I've seen in the last 40 years. I am tomorrow going to try to find the last time we had a win percentage that high, but at least in the last 40 years. And I'll end with this. Overs also 9-3 this week, 18-9 over the last 2 weeks. So if you've been just throwing out favorites and overs, you're pretty much, if I'm doing math right, like, I don't know, 35-17 over the last 2 weeks. So some ridiculous numbers there. Brandon, what do you make of kind of this run that favorites and overs are on? It feels like just kind of an anomaly in like a 2 or 3 week span. But I'll say this, favorites are 32-10 straight up since week 6. So it feels like it's a little bit of a run.
Yeah, I mean, I think favorites tend to be best in October, if I remember right. Usually you kind of get the underdogs early, underdogs late, but favorites kind of do bite back a little bit around now. But it's not this much usually. This is an absurd amount, and it was not a great day of football. Like I almost, I kind of forgot about the bye weeks till you mentioned it. My brain, as I heard that, was like, oh, thank God. At least that was 3 more games we don't have to pay attention to today. Like it was rough out there, but we're here. We're talking football. We will talk some takeaways, and not necessarily, it's not about what happened today, but what happened today that matters tomorrow. What happens that matters next week, the games ahead. We'll get to the hot read later on, get to Monday Night Football later on as well. So, yeah, favorites keep rolling, but, the NFL is not for long. So we'll see how long that lasts. About the time that you decide to just bet all the favorites is the week that it's going to bounce back the other way. So we know that's coming.
I will say this. So teams who trailed at the half, which actually had been good second half ATS entering this week, they were 61-41. Today or this week, they went 2-10. So that really went into the reason why favorites have excelled is basically you had no comebacks to some degree, or very few comebacks in that sense. All right. Let's get to Sunday Night Football. So Green Bay wins the game 35-25, covers the 2.5 on close. Total goes over 46. I think it's probably worth just starting at the beginning of the game. Obviously, a lot of hype around Rodgers, but Green Bay's offense in the first half came down to just third downs on the other side of the ball. They went 0 for 4, 2 missed field goals, 3 punts, but Jordan Love, ridiculous kind of all night, played very, very well. First half, 13-18, 146 and a touchdown pass. But Pittsburgh leads at the half. They get points on 4 or 5 drives. Their rush defense looked incredible, really holding Jacobs, and I believe Wilson got a few carries as well, but 7 of 19, basically doing nothing. And this was one of my favorite stats from the game is the fact in the first half, 17 players got a catch in this game. Like and both quarterbacks were literally throwing it to everybody. But like, what did you make out of what we saw in the first half and kind of the change at halftime? Because to me, Jordan Love, very consistent, but Pittsburgh from drive to drive, I feel like we get something very different with Rodgers and the run game and kind of the way they play.
Yeah, I mean, Green Bay, the first half looked a lot like the Packers team we've kind of been complaining about for a few weeks, where it was an all or nothing, and it was mostly nothing in the first half. They were getting some 3 and outs. They were looking for the big play and not finding it. Pittsburgh's moving the ball, But as a Pittsburgh bettor in this game, which obviously did not go well for me, at halftime, probably you're supposed to be feeling well. I wasn't feeling great because it seemed like Pittsburgh is getting these opportunities somewhat. They're kicking long field goals. So credit for making, Boswell hitting the long ones, but you don't want to be settling for field goals in a game against the Packers. You're going to need some points. And it just seemed like Pittsburgh, Tomlin always a little bit conservative. I guess that's probably understating it. I don't know if he's like had an aggressive decision all year. If you look at some of the analytics charts out there on like fourth down and the spots where there's a little bit of question about it. So it felt like Pittsburgh wasn't necessarily the better team in the first half. They were at least even though, and they had better chances. And so they were ahead. I feel like they need to be more ahead because I don't know if you knew this, Evan, but I think Toyotathon started at halftime tonight. Like, I think it's Toyotathon season now. Jordan Love finishes with 360 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0.59 EPA per play, which is like a monster number, wow. 95th percentile. Until the last 5 minutes, Green Bay had about double the yards, double the first downs, 50 to 35% success rate. Second half, it just was not a game at all. Second half was the entire rest of the day of football, where the Packers were just steamrolling. And I believe until that final possession, I think they had scored all 5 of their possessions in the second half when it still mattered. Love was playing well enough that I already looked it up at our sponsor DraftKings, 30-1 MVP. I'm just saying he's got 13 touchdowns, 2 picks. We got this big primetime spot. They go now Carolina for nothing. Then Monday night against the Eagles in Lambeau. So that's going to be the next really big game 2 weeks from now. And at 30-1, that's 9th in odds. We'll get there briefly today, but that's behind a running back now, Jonathan Taylor, and his quarterback, Daniel Jones. It's behind Jared Goff. Jordan Love is like an MVP in waiting and looked the part for half tonight. And their schedule opens up a little bit moving forward. He's going to have some big primetime games. I don't know that he wins, but I don't think we have a standout here yet for MVP. It could be him. 30-1 feels a little long.
Yeah, 20 straight completions tonight. I feel like he's got some of the narrative. And you say he only played well in the second half. I think overall, we're just going to kind of forget about what this game looked like and look at the final numbers. So in primetime, looking good, a night about Rodgers ends up kind of about Love. And the fact that the record that they have, what they did to Detroit when you look back, like everything seems ahead of Green Bay. And listen, never a bad bet to take a quarterback the week before facing the Panthers. So things could go one way, things could go the other, but he might throw 4 touchdowns next week and that number might look a lot shorter. So I kind of like it. And then again, you mentioned it, another huge game on deck. And then the Giants, like the Giants can be beat a number of different ways. Even if you start on the ground, you could still throw a few passing touchdowns against them. So one thing I did look up. Oh yeah, go.
The Packers still have both, I believe both Bears and Vikings games down the stretch, which was supposed to be daunting earlier in the season because the division is tough, but those are looking a little bit easier. It opens up a little bit. Green Bay, for all of that we've complained a little bit, 1 loss. They only have 1 loss on the season. So you're getting like, look, if they finish like 14-2-1 or something, that's the 1 seed. And the only award you'd give this team is the quarterback. They spread it to all the receivers. We talked about that already. Jacobs is good, but not going to win any sorts of awards. It's Jordan Love. I guess Matt LaFleur maybe would probably be in the mix for some credit as well. But it's one of those two if you're going to do some sort of award. I have to give an award, by the way, for National Tight End of the Night. Happy National Tight Ends Day. Tucker Kraft comes through for us. Our top pick of the day. Plus 165 on the touchdown. I know a bunch of people were on that one. 2 touchdowns hits for us, 14-1 as well. Another monster game, 7 catches, 143 and 2 scores. He was doing the thing. On a day of a lot of tight end talk, I thought he was the best one. And quite frankly, I think he's like a top 5, and 5 might be too many tight end going forward. So I think he's Green Bay's go-to receiver. We talk about all the other guys. Christian Watson was back today. I thought he played pretty well. Opened up down the field, did some nice blocks for them. But I think Kraft is really the go-to guy now.
Yeah, I believe he had the most receiving yards of any player today, which would have been a fun ticket to hold and something that would have on National Tight Ends Day. The one stat I looked up just because I was curious, Steelers have now lost 5 straight home games after trailing entering the fourth quarter. And those games are longest streak since 2009 to 2013. I was curious after looking at the scoreboard, seeing them trailing and listening to Renegade. And I said to myself, I wonder. So that is your stat. Okay, let's keep rolling here. So you and I kind of go into the rundown just so everyone kind of sees how the meal gets made here. And we go back and forth trying to figure out which games end up in which slots. And when this ended up at the top under Sunday Night Football, I said to myself, I don't really have anything to beat it. So it's Jets-Bengals. Jets win the game 39-38. They cover as 5.5-point dogs. Total goes over 43.5. And when when the Bengals had the lead in this game, and it was, 14 points or whatever it was, this game was listed basically in the let's just say the score and get out of here. And now, with the comeback, it is probably one of the games of the day. 900 total yards, 7.5 yards per rush between the two teams, just 1 sack and no turnovers. Justin Fields versus Joe Flacco. But the Jets get their first win. Jets get 500 yards for just the second time in 25 years. They run 70 plays on offense, 7.2 yards per play, no turnovers, no sacks. And honestly, one of the probably most important things for them in this game, they convert on 9 third and fourth downs, which is what really keeps this game alive, in my opinion. The stat I'll give you, and then I'll hand it off to you. Jets quarterbacks to lead the team to 500 plus yards, no sacks, and no turnovers. Justin Fields. That's it. And the only other quarterback who's ever done it without a sack would be Joe Namath for the Jets in 1966 because sacks weren't available, and I have no idea if he was sacked or not. But that literally is where this game was listed. I just think this has way more to do with Cincinnati's defense, which when you start going through each of the games, the numbers are ridiculous. So what do you make of this matchup and what we saw? And I guess what you can take forward from both these teams.
Yeah, the Bengals entered the day 32nd in DVOA defensively. That's dead last. And then they gave up 500 yards of offense to the Jets, who, remember, didn't have Garrett Wilson, their only good receiver, and tried to bench their quarterback this week, but then couldn't because the backup was hurt, so they had to play Justin Fields again. That's what just happened. Since he's cruising, it's 17-3, 24-13 at the half, 31-16 into the fourth quarter. Like, that was when I made the rundown. I was like, all right, well, this game, plenty of points. That's nice, but we don't have anything to say here. It's a winless team and a 2-win team, or a 3-win team, I think. But then fourth quarter, Jets go 6 for 66 and a touchdown, 5 for 60 and a touchdown, 9 for 58 and a touchdown. What in the world are you doing, the Bengals? This is gift wrapped in your lap. We just did Steelers. The Steelers are 4-3. They have 4 wins. The Bengals had their 4th win gift wrap for them. They could have been tied with 4 wins at the top of the division. Here you have Steelers losing. The Ravens have lost 5 games already. And it just is right there for them. A home game, up 2 scores on the winless Jets. By the way, we know the 72 Dolphins thing gets run to the ground. Did the 2017 Browns get a pop champagne today? Like, did the 2008 Lions all gather together and like, we did it? We're the real losers now. There's no more winless teams left now that the Jets win. I don't know. They probably don't do that.
Probably not.
Sorry?
No, I said probably not.
Yeah. So late in the game, big play for me as a bettor, and hopefully if you were tailing. So I love this game for tight ends. For all the points in the game, the tight ends were doing jack crap for me until at the very end of the game. So the Jets are down 14. They get the touchdown. Hopefully, if you listen to this show on Us at Action Network, you know by now why do the Jets go for 2. It's the right analytics move. You go for 2. It looked like they didn't get it. It gets overturned. Now you get the 2-point conversion. Then they get the extra point for the win. That's why they win by 1, is because of that aggressive decision. If they didn't get it, you can still go for 2 the next time and get back to even. This way, you went for it early. You get the chance to win in regulation. So, pretty clear analytics win. Aaron Glenn, congrats on the first win. But so now they're down 6. They're driving. Breece Hall has 2 scores already on the ground. And our man, Breece Hall, throws it to Mason Taylor. First career touchdown, plus 260 anytime touchdown for us, plus 260 on the money line for the Jets for us. We had both sides there. So big Breece Hall fan for today. The Jets finished today at 60% success rate. That is an absurdly bad number for the Bengals to allow. The Bengals were at 58%. Like, they did plenty of offense in this game. They just couldn't find answers defensively. And Trey Hendrickson left hurt again. So they're trying to trade him. You can't trade an injured player. He's pretty much their only good defensive player. So what was already a terrible defense gets even worse without him. By the way, Stealth Joe Flacco left hurt also with a shoulder sprain. So we already know how bad Jake Browning has looked. Flacco at least has given them some options. I don't know if he'll necessarily be ready to go next week. I got to say, I looked very hard in the hot read at just fade the Bengals, but it's the Bears next week, favored on the road with like their top 700 cornerbacks all in the injured report also against all these receivers. So I agree with what you said at the top. This was about the Bengals. This is absolutely a Bengals loss. They fall to 3-5, just an inexplicable like loser franchise loss. This should get a coach fired sort of loss. They were absolutely gift wrapped. They now have that big win against Pittsburgh. They fought so hard against Detroit and Green Bay. Now you're just back to 3-5. Bengals, Bears. We'll get to Bears in a bit. Both teams really disappointing today, and it's kind of like a loser leaves town game next week. Cincinnati still has, after that game, Pittsburgh, New England, not easy. Then Baltimore, Buffalo, Baltimore, all in a row. This was the one you're supposed to get the easy win. I think we're going to get Burrow back in December. We're going to have the usual Bengals push. They're going to be so good and look so great to be like, oh, man, if only Burrow hadn't gotten hurt. No, if only you beat the Jets, you're up by 14. This is the reason they're going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, you're completely right. I believe Flacco did come back into the game. So I would assume at this point he would be their starting quarterback next week, especially based off how he's played lately. That would be my assumption. When you talk about this game, just in general, though, you're right. It's Cincinnati's defense. Just absolutely unreal. The stat I put out, Cincinnati now 2-3 straight up in scoring 35 plus in start of last year. All other teams now 84-6. 2-3. 84-6, just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I think the story is the AFC North, based off of Pittsburgh losing, Cincinnati losing. Like the entire division feels like it is completely, and of course, the division becomes even more complicated with Baltimore being the only team that wins. So to me, but I think the thing for Cincinnati to like hold your head on, yes, you are going to look back at this Jets game probably every single week throughout the season, remembering it, but you are 2-0 in division. So like trying to figure out how you parlay that into a better move for you to get to the division lead, because this division ain't finding a wild card. I'll tell you that much. So it's whoever's going to find their way on top will get through, but it is a mess week to week. So I don't know what else to say about either of these teams, but I will say that the Jets getting the win now with the bye week coming up, boy, that would have been some story with Cleveland, like New England. There's some tough defenses coming up. They're lucky they got this one, and a lot of things had to go wrong for Cincinnati for them to get there.
For sure. And look, the Jets had a couple of games early in the season, like the opener against Pittsburgh, where they got unlucky. So I think it is right for the Jets to not be winless anymore. Whether it was this one or another one, they deserve to get off the schneid. Cincinnati did run the ball well. Like a lot of folks out there took Chase Brown in their fantasy leagues and just have him riding the pine at this point. He's kind of looking good the last couple of games. And the Jets had been a pretty good run defense. They ran 23 times, 181 yards, 3 scores, 68% success rate running the ball. Run the ball more. You're hit by 14 at home against the Jets. What are you doing? Instead, Jamar Chase, do you know how many targets he had in this game? 19.
Wow.
19 targets. He caught 12, which is not a good rate, for 91 yards, which is not the number you want for Jamar Chase. You want like 5 for 120. You want the big plays down the field. A few more catches, sure, but 19 out of 34 passes is force feeding. He finishes the game at 0.9 EPA. Now, let me be clear, not per play. On 19 passes to Jamar Chase, he finished with under 1 expected point added. That is a team that is coached poorly, that doesn't understand this is not working for us. Run the ball, do some other things. That's the Bengals, and they're too cheap to fire their coach. They're too cheap to make a change. I'm fed up with this team.
I've hated Zach Taylor for a long time. I believe with Joe Flacco, Jamar Chase's target share is really close to 50%. So if that doesn't tell you something, then nothing will. All right. I guess the next best game of the day, 49ers Texans. Texans win the game 26-15. They cover as 2.5-point favorites, which we heard Scott Hansen mention at least 44 times today, that the unexpected Texans were favored over the 49ers. That came out of his mouth at least 10 times. I know Stuckey was mentioning maybe he had a bet or two on that, but he was very aware of the point spread. Total went under 41.5, just a half point, very tight. To me, the storyline, and I put it at the top here, I say finally San Francisco has fallen apart, because I feel like at this point, like there should be more losses on their record, and there aren't. So it was nice to see what I had been feeling for a while, but early San Francisco possessions just put them in the hole. Punt to start the game, while Houston went to a 16-0 lead. After that, San Francisco, I feel like, kind of found their way, which with this team, it's 3rd and Juwan, it's Christian McCaffrey in the pass game, or it's starting to find George Kittle as he's come back from injury. Like, that's kind of all they're running on offense right now. But to me, that's kind of the whole thing about this game. Like, CJ Stroud got back on the offensive side. The passing game looked good. I think it was a little bit overstated, some of those lines, with the fact that Nico Collins is out of the game. Like, San Francisco secondary was depleted, and they have been, and they can get passed on. So to me, and the one other thing before I pass it to you that I was really happy with, CJ Stroud under pressure was something that was a difficulty for him, and something had been talked about entering this game. 7 of 8 for a touchdown today. So dealt with it fine. And under 20 yards downfield for Stroud, went 29 of 33 passing. His precision was unreal. But what do you take out of this one?
Yeah, Stroud 318, two touchdowns, an extra point added every 2 plays passing for him. Oof. Man, that if that doesn't say enough about the Niners defense, the way that the Texans have looked for a season and a half now, and you let CJ Stroud play like an MVP, the quarterback we want him to be, I think that just speaks volumes for this defense. I was on Texans alts in this game. I love that play. That was the right play here. We hit Texans -9.5 plus 320. Honestly, I'm kind of mad we didn't get the Texans by 20, 12-1. That felt very much in play until right before halftime. I think it was 13-0, and then the Niners get a long kickoff return. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess we're going to give the 3 back, and then they get a touchdown instead, and that kind of took that off the board. But Houston dominated. They had 24 minutes of possession at halftime. There's 30 minutes in the first half. So they had the ball 80% of the time. Like, that is insane. They finished with more than double the yardage, about double the first downs. They went 1-5 in the red zone, or else I think we maybe do hit that 20-point win. Houston had field goal drives of 16 plays, 9, 11, and 10. So they are grinding out, moving the ball for a team that goes 3 and out like it's going out of style. Like, this is really bad for the Niners defense. We've talked about how bad it's looked anyways. You mentioned it, Nico Collins isn't even out there. So, like, you're one really good weapon offensively. And then San Fran got more injuries today. D. Winters at linebacker, the second linebacker after Fred Warner. Now he's injured. 2 defensive starting linemen get injured after Bosa's already out and Gross Mato. So it is tragic right now. I updated with the injuries, assuming that those guys miss a little time. This is now below the Cowboys for me. This is my dead last in the league defense. We just dumped on the Bengals. We've dumped on the Cowboys all season. This is below now. That's how bad it is. Niners are 5-3. I think they got lucky today in that this week, the Falcons lost, the Bears lost, the Vikings lost. Like, it's holding on for dear life to a wild card spot now in their case. And we know about the soft schedule, but man, I don't know if even the schedule can save them at this point. They go at Giants next week. And, you don't want to bet on the Giants right now necessarily, but I'm not sure that's a gimme for them. That's lined about a field goal right now. Then Rams, Cardinals, Carolina, Cleveland. They don't get a bye week until December still. So no rest for the weary. They're not going to get healthy anytime soon. I recommended them plus 325 to miss the playoffs before today. I don't know that line's going to shift a ton because a lot of the other NFC teams lost anyway, but this defense is just not going to happen for them this season. And I don't know if the soft schedule is going to be able to save them. I guess maybe getting Purdy back and getting the offense healthy at some point is going to help. But how long have we been waiting for that? It feels like all of October that's been the case. So very worrisome for San Fran.
Yeah, and you have the injury bowl next week, 49ers and the Giants, both two teams who seem to be losing people left and right. So I think it's who's going to be healthy could have an advantage in that one. So we will see. The one thing I will put in my article this week, which I will look a little bit more into, because I think a few defenses were out there a lot, but San Francisco's defense on the field for 75 plays in this game, which is absolutely ridiculous and usually has an impact the next week. So I'll have something on that. But Texans go 10 of 17 on 3rd and 4th down, which to me basically win the game. The trend that I will be looking going forward for San Francisco since Christmas of 2023, Niners now 1-14 against the spread after an outright win, the worst mark of any team in the NFL. Seems crazy, but also 7-24 against the second half spread, last 31 games since that date. So San Francisco's second half has some issues, and after wins, like they seem to just come back down to earth. So we're going to see if there's some consistency there. You were right about San Francisco on the record. The only other thing I noticed with them, which someone who has a ticket on them to miss the playoffs, they're 3-0 versus division and 5-1 versus the conference. So those things become very, very important as we go late. And then Houston, to me, that's why I thought this matchup was worthy of the top, because both teams very much still fighting for a lot of things. So in terms of good teams with records and fighting for things, this was high on the list today. But with Indy the way they are, I mean, they're just battling, I feel like, Jacksonville week to week to make sure they're ahead of them in the division and kind of go from there. But anything else with this one?
Yeah, I mean, AFC is certainly where you want to be chasing for a wild card spot. It looks like one of New England or Buffalo, one team in the AFC West, maybe two, maybe that's it. But like you said, probably no one in the AFC North. So it's probably, you put Buffalo and New England in, that's one wild card spot. So you got Denver, the Chargers, Jacksonville, and Houston probably are the four teams fighting for two spots. Houston, we keep wanting to leave for dead, but they got to win here. They've got some winnable games coming up. I'm not going to take away from this game like, oh, they've really found their offense. No, they found the San Fran defense, but you got to find some wins too. So I don't think that they solved anything today. That'll be a little preview that we'll come back to a little bit later, but they got to win. Sometimes you have to win while you're trying to solve things. They bought themselves some time. They got the win that teams like the Bengals and others did not get today. So right now that's enough.
Yeah, third straight home game, too. They go home this week, then home Denver, then home Jacksonville. So 3 straight home games. I mean, good start for them. All right, before we move on, do not forget to sign up for Action Pro for real-time pick alerts from experts like Brandon Anderson, Chris Raybon, Stuckey, our entire Action Network team. Plus, you can access our pro projections powered by Sean Kerner and our predictive analytics team. Just go to actionnetwork.com/pro and get $20 off the annual price with the promo code POD20, POD20. So don't miss out on the best bets at the best prices. Visit actionnetwork.com/pro. Use promo code POD20, POD20 to get $20 off a year of Action Pro. Okay. It is our shorter recap section. So we've got 3 games here. We will start with the Dallas Cowboys and the Denver Broncos. Denver wins this game 44-24, which feels like the score in every Dallas game every week. They cover -3.5 at home. Over goes over 51.5. It's just the Cowboys defense. Like, I feel like it's a similar story when you talk about Cincinnati. And I think, okay, so I kind of want to pause for a second because I feel like this is just a question for you and like a handicapping question week to week. I feel like defenses right now are as worse as they've ever been in the NFL. And I feel like it's part of the reason why some of these overs are just feeling like easy money, because at any point in the game, injuries and bad defense is just allowing easy touchdowns and easy field position. Like, I have to look into the data a little bit more, but I feel like the bad defense is leading to more just unnecessary points in some of these games. But to me, this is one of those games. Like, I think Bo Nix played well, but to me, Dallas put up 24 points and still didn't look fantastic. Like, you look at how they put up those points, they just found themselves to 24, while it's Dallas's defense who allows 44 points is really the story. I mean, Dallas, 5 straight overs now after this game. Quarterbacks facing Dallas, 20 touchdowns and 4 picks this year, 8.2 yards per attempt, and a 69% completion percentage. I mean, in this game, just alone, Bo Nix's ADOT was 11. He was a +9 completion percentage over expected, and he added 0.52 EPA per play. Like, he was ridiculous. On late downs, Denver's success rate was 64%. I mean, they did everything they wanted to do. And when I say late downs, they barely got there. So to me, it's the same story all over the place. But what do you take from, or do you believe in my theory, I guess would be the question.
So yeah, I do feel like we've talked a lot about like who are the great teams this season. Why does it not feel like anyone is stepping forward as a great team? So you see people talking about like, well, maybe it's Denver. You know, Denver is a buzzsaw that we've been waiting for this breakout spot. I don't think that there are great teams right now necessarily. I think there are bad teams, and I think there are bad units. And I'm not sure that I feel super confident in the top side of the equation. I find myself betting against the bad side of the equation and grabbing my survivor teams, not because I love this team, but because I hate that team. So I'm happy to play against them right now. And like, that's where I'm looking for props and overs also. And Cowboys here, I did not like the Denver defense. We thanks to Joe Milton for getting us over the line. Did not expect that one, did not deserve it, but we got the team total despite Dallas never being in the game really. Their defense just had no shot here. Denver, 7.5 yards of play. Like, you can't do that. And Bo Nix, I thought probably had his best game of the season, over 0.5 EPA per play, almost +10 completion over expected. I'm kind of just going to run back my exact thoughts I just gave on CJ Stroud and that game. Like, if you make CJ Stroud in this offense look that good, if you make Bo Nix in this offense look that good, you're terrible on defense. That's it. Like, we have the whole rest of the season. Bo Nix and CJ Stroud are not that good. We don't need to pretend like it all magically fixed in one game. This is about Dallas defense, not about Denver's offense. Am I mad that Dak Prescott threw a pick right before halftime when Brandon Aubrey was set up for a 70-yard field goal? We all wanted it. Everyone wanted the field goal. It wasn't even a good pass either. Like, I think if they complete the pass, I think the clock might run out, and I'm not sure they get the field goal off anyway. And you don't need the yardage. Your boy Aubrey's going to hit it anyways from 70. We want the record. Dak, I thought, was kind of terrible today. He's been really good this season. He had 2 bad interceptions, just really off game. I honestly wonder. So, very first drive of the game, Dallas kind of goes right down the field, and Patrick Surtain gets hurt. And so that's maybe the story of this game. Is some of the Twitter doctors think this could be a more serious injury, that maybe could cost him some time, even much of the regular season. I kind of wonder if Surtain mostly is out. He comes back in, he gets hurt again later on with the shoulder problem. I sort of feel like that maybe threw off Dallas's game plan. Like, you are planning so much around what Surtain is supposed to do that then he's suddenly off the field and Denver has to do something different. And now you're not maybe ready for that right now. So I wonder if that was maybe part of it, but it didn't seem like Dallas had a great plan today. And a lot of the matchup stuff here, like what Dak was supposed to do against all the man coverage, what Nix was not going to be able to do against Dallas coverage, and it all went sideways. It all went the other direction here. So, yeah, I think to your point, we keep betting against whoever's playing the Cowboys. Like, put all their overs put them into your fantasy lineup, bet the overs. And I think with Dallas, like, I still like this offense. I still want to bet on Dallas's offense. We're going to watch them again. They're on Monday night next week against the Cardinals. We're going to want to see what Dak and these receivers do. But I think similar to today, not a victory lap because I got lucky, but it's Cowboys team totals. I don't know if you want to take in Cowboys sides and money lines because you got to play the defense too. You want just the offense on this team.
Yeah, that Arizona spot feels kind of tasty. It's before the bye. It's off this loss. It's off playing pretty poorly. Like, there feels like you don't like to buy into many get right spots, but it does kind of feel like that. The one thing that does continue with this game, Bo Nix continues to be ridiculous as chalk. Just like when they're supposed to do well, they continue to just perform very well. As a favorite, he is 13-1 straight up, including now 13-0 as a 2-point favorite or higher. So basically, anytime they're chalk, it looks great. And with those starts, 11-3 second half ATS as a favorite. So just really consistent, which makes it really difficult on other teams. I think it's worth talking at least 1 second about both of the teams and the records and stuff like that. So Dallas 3-4-1 straight up now. To me, the losses to Chicago and Carolina, maybe not so much Carolina, but we'll see, could be big. Like, those are the teams you end up trying to probably fight in those wild card situations. But they are 2-1 in the division, so at least that's good. And then from Denver, I mean, I think it's worth reminding people they are 6-2. They're leading the AFC West, no matter what happens to the Chiefs on Monday Night Football. But the Broncos are 0-1 in division and 4-1. And 0-1 division, something that, we're going to see them play a lot more of the AFC West teams, which, Raiders are not so easy. Anything else?
No, let's keep moving.
All right, Giants and Eagles. Eagles win the game 38-20. They cover -7.5 at home, over 43.5 hits. So I think the important thing for me when I was trying to dissect this game is the Giants are down just 14-7. They've actually outscored the Eagles 41-31 when the Giants drive right when Cam Scatterbo gets hurt. So, I feel like the game is more back and forth. Yes, they're trailing, but I feel like it's going to be a little bit of a back and forth game until that happens. He gets hurt. They punt two plays later, and then they're outscored 24-6 before that last touchdown. And I feel like it changes the entire game out the window. So I have a difficulty trying to figure out what to take from it versus not. I mean, Jalen Hurts throws 4 touchdowns. Philly's most balanced game in a while, I guess you could say, because they put 276 on the ground. And the fact that 3 for 3 in the red zone, no turnovers, they just felt right. But to me, the game changes right there. What do you feel like?
Yeah, it just was such a gruesome injury also. To see a guy that had kind of become the heart and soul of the team with just his attacking downhill running style, leaning in, right? No running out of bounds, taking the extra hit every time. I feel like that sort of became what their identity was. So then to see that, kind of the bubble burst on that is really rough on the team. It did seem like that was a big part. And then I hate to come there again, but the tush-push controversy, we just can't get over it with this team. Apparently you can false start on tush-pushes, and now you get to fumble as well. Everyone watching that play thinks that the play is live and it's a fumble and maybe going back the other way, and instead the refs have blown it dead, and so that's just that. It's just every week with the tush-push controversy and the Eagles, and I felt like that seemed like, I can't remember exactly, but I believe that was a similar-ish time to the Scatterbo injury as well. So I think between those two things, just a rough spot. Credit where it's due. Scatterbo or not, this is finally the Eagles' result we've been asking for all year. This is the team you finally blew an opponent out that you're supposed to. 59-39% success rate. When you see all those charts this week, did we really get beat that bad? It's going to just say yes to the Giants. They got beat that bad. It was really bad. They got almost doubled up in yardage. Eagles plus 181 on yards, 10 more first downs, 7.5 yards of play. They were not good on third down in this game. Otherwise, maybe it gets a little worse. But obviously look good. Saquon leaves hurt late. I don't think that's probably too big of a deal. They're up big. They've got the bye week next week. I think they're probably just being cautious. For the Eagles, maybe the perfect timing for a bye week with Saquon injured and obviously no A.J. Brown in this game. By the way, the Eagles have been pretty bad without A.J. Brown offensively in the past. So playing this well without him is not nothing for them. They're 6-2 now. They get the bye week. They then after the bye week It's Packers, Lions, Cowboys. So we're going to see if this, like, are they really humming now? Or did they just beat the Giants and the Vikings, which, by the way, beating up on the Vikings doesn't seem so great after Thursday night now either. So is that something? And are they finding answers? We saw that last year. It took them a few weeks and they found some answers. We're going to find out. We'll get that Monday night Packers game and kind of go from there. But on the flip side, Giants 2-6 now. Here's a stat for you. 2-6 is the Giants' second best start since the 2017 season. Second best start. Here's their records: 2-6, 2-6, 2-6, 6-2. Way to go! 2-6, 1-7, 2-6, 1-7, 1-7. What is this franchise doing? That's 9 years and 2-6 ties for their second best start. I thought it was different, Evan, with Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo. Maybe it was, and now it ended once Cam went out.
Yeah, I thought today was at MetLife. I got really angry when Scatterbo got hurt, and I was just like, "Oh, the turf!" And I was like, "Oh, wait, that's not." It might have been a hip drop tackle. I don't know. Pretty bad injury either way.
In the olden days, the vet at Philly was even worse. So we can just pretend we'll blame it on the vet, even though I know that's not the thing anymore. Let's just blame it on Philly.
I will say this: Giants have allowed 20-plus points in 10 straight road games now, 38, 33, 26, and 40 in their last 4. So with that being said, at Chicago in 2 weeks would be their next road game. So maybe a get-right spot there with Ben Johnson, depending on what happens. Oh, Jackson Dart as well. Even odds to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. So even without Scatterbo now, probably going to get a lot of work from Dart. All right, let's keep rolling here. Chicago and Baltimore. Ravens win the game 30-16, cover -2.5 at home, over 44.5. It's probably worth talking about a little bit what happened before the game actual starts. So last Sunday night, this game opens -6.5. On Saturday AM, so basically a day before the game, it goes up to actually 7 for Baltimore as a favorite. And then the news comes out that Lamar, the whole practice thing, line comes down to 3.5 and actually closes -2.5 for the Ravens. A lot of action both ways, a lot of upset people. But I believe the way the game went, I think Baltimore got a little bit lucky because first 2 drives for the Bears, Caleb gets sacked, and then back-to-back incompletions, both on 3rd down. Those first 2 drives lead to field goals. If any of those lead to touchdowns, I feel like, Huntley coming from more behind than just 6 points kind of changes things because then Chicago goes 3 and out, then they miss a field goal, then they go 3 and out again. Like, things end up leading Baltimore to being up by double digits. But I kind of feel like the start of this game could have been a little bit different. But what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that this, like the final score line and the way it felt all throughout was a Ravens domination, but the stats don't really tell that story. I think they tell the Ravens being slightly better. The Bears finished with slightly more yardage on the game. Ravens had a slight advantage in success rate. I thought early down passes was especially in Baltimore's favor. The Ravens did go 3 of 6 in the red zone. So I think if they could just get another score or 2 there, then this maybe looks even worse in Baltimore's favor. But end of the game, I mean, even that alone, the Bears get down to the 1, and I think DJ Moore catches a long one, doesn't get out of bounds, so they're like rushing up, and they get 4 shots at the 1 and don't get into the end zone. Well, that alone would have made it 30-23 and probably a bit more representative of what the game felt like. I was paying particular attention. You talked about how the spread moved. The total, I think, was 50.5 early in the week. And then Tyler Huntley gets announced and it immediately goes. So already there was rumors he might be playing. So it was at 47.5. And then he gets announced in. Tyler Huntley unders have been a thing for forever. And so as soon as he's in, it dropped down to like 44.5 within minutes. Well, within minutes in that window, I grabbed on the action app under 47.5. So somehow I lucked into this one. I got the hook at the end. The total hits 46. So thanks to the Caleb Williams and the terrible ending there. So the total was kind of its own story there, depending on when you played. It does go over. So Tyler Huntley under is dropped to 11-4 to the under, technically speaking, but only if you waited till the very end. If you kind of read the tea leaves where Lamar was, well, I don't know if there were tea leaves. What's the opposite of tea leaves? Whatever Baltimore is giving us. But yeah, it didn't. I honestly don't have a ton of takeaway from the game. I guess a question I will have that I don't know we know the answer to yet. This is out of the bye week. We know Baltimore's defense got a little healthier. We know they moved Kyle Hamilton around. The Bears offense has moved the ball pretty well. Like, I assume the Bears surely went under the team total in this game.
Yeah,
That's got to be their first time on the season. This is a
correct.
team that was scoring points week after week. So did the Ravens defense that had been horrible all season, did they find a few answers? Was it about Caleb Williams? Was it about the Ravens? I'll tell you this. This is not my hot read. The Ravens play Thursday. I think Lamar Jackson's going to play, but I thought Lamar Jackson was going to play this week. I can't hot read because I got to know if Lamar is playing. But Thursday, short week against the Dolphins. I know what the Dolphins did. You're going to recap it for us in a second. Thursday against the Dolphins screams Derrick Henry runs for 150, 2 scores, and the Ravens just demolish the Dolphins and send McDaniel to his funeral. Like that screams get right game to me against a defense that's been awful, which we've said about like 5 teams now on this episode, I realize, but they're all awful. So Baltimore now goes 3 games on the road, but it's Dolphins, Vikings, Browns. They're 2-5. That smells like 5-5. But wait, we still got Jets, Bengals after that. That schedule's opening up. I think that Baltimore, we just said no wild card out of the division. Maybe it's no wild card. Maybe it comes at the expense of the Steelers, but it sure feels like the Ravens didn't impress me today, but they did win. And this schedule coming up is going to open up real nicely for them if they can get some wins here. So Thursday, we'll see. Maybe it'll be the, oh man, the Ravens are back to 3-5. Here they come. I feel like I'm hearing footsteps.
Yeah, I think this game, kind of like San Francisco and Houston, like they're both good teams. We expect to keep hearing about both these teams when it comes to playoffs. Assume Baltimore keeps winning a game or two to stay within mix. The one thing I want to say about Chicago, 11 penalties for Chicago in this game. They have 6+ penalties in all 7 games, something Ben Johnson's got to figure out. The other thing, 1 of 3 in the red zone today, now below 50% on the season. Just for what it's worth, Detroit's at 72% in the red zone this year, and they were at 69% last year. Those are 2 things Chicago's got to figure out. Penalties, red zone. So that's what I'll be looking for a little bit going forward. All right, let's just get through the scores now on the rest of these games. So Miami, Atlanta, Miami wins 34-10. They cover the +7. Total goes under 44.5 by the hook. The Dolphins were coming off a game with 11 penalties, 0 for 2 in the red zone, 1 for 13 on third down. They were just terrible. They fixed a lot of that today. No turnovers, only 4 penalties, just a sack, 6 of 13 on third down, 2 ahead to 4 touchdowns. Today was a get-right game against a team without their best wide receiver and what really is their backup quarterback. This was the biggest upset of Tua's career. He was 0-5 straight up at above +6. All right. New England beats the Browns 32-13. Cover -7, total over 40.5. The story here is the MVP odds. Right now, Pat Mahomes +150, Josh Allen +350, and Drake May +450. Drake May right now has 2,000+ passing yards and a 75.2% completion percentage through 8 games. The only other quarterback to do that is Drew Brees in 2018. That is it. That is the pace right now of Drake May. Absolutely ridiculous. And the other fun stat, Myles Garrett now tied for the NFL lead in sacks with 10, having half in today's game. Buffalo, Carolina. Buffalo wins 40-9, cover -7 on the road, total over 47.5. Josh Allen now 9-0 straight up, 6-2-1 ATS off a full bye week. They're averaging about 28 points per game in those starts. Really good there. The other thing about teams facing Buffalo, don't turn it over. Carolina did it 3 times today. Buffalo 23-0 straight up, 3+ since 2019. And I'll say this, James Cook, almost 6 yards per carry this year. Best in the NFL. He's looking fantastic. All right. Colts beat the Titans 38-14, cover the 14.5 point spread, total over 48. Colts are 7-1 straight up. Their win total was 7.5. So the Colts can go over their win total with a win next week against the Steelers. They are covering the spread by 10.9 points per game this year, most by a team since 2019. And on the other side, Titans, Jesus Christmas, 2-13 ATS versus the AFC South in their last 15. They are 5-12 23-1 ATS in their last 29 games. Also, Jonathan Taylor touchdown. He was minus 425 today. He ends up getting 3. He is minus 250 to an offensive player of the year. And then finally, Bucks Saints. Bucks win the game 23-3 in a game I feel like I watched for maybe 15 seconds. It was really, really bad out there. They cover the minus 3.5 on the close. Total goes under 48. The Saints ran, I don't even know how that's possible. The Saints ran 71 plays and were 0 for 1 in the red zone after 8 of 16 on third down and 2 for 4 on fourth down. Just absolutely stuck in the mud to run 71 plays and get in the red zone once after that many third downs and fourth downs. Just literally moving nowhere. As an underdog of under 10 points, Spencer Rattler now 0-10 ATS in his career. He was replaced by Tyler Shuck in this game, so we will see whatever New Orleans does going forward. All right. Monday night football. Washington Commanders, Kansas City Chiefs. I'll just let you take it from here. What are you feeling on this game? What are you seeing?
Yeah, so you have to start with the injuries, I think. It looks like Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel play at receiver for Washington. No Jaden Daniels, so we're going to get Marcus Mariota again. That's the big story. The lesser story is the Chiefs' offensive line. Still no Josh Simmons at left tackle. Looks like Trey Smith, the star right guard, will be possibly out as well. I believe the right tackle, I don't know if Jawan Taylor being in or out is better or worse for them, but I think he's had some struggles. So, yeah, look, this line, I make it about minus 10. I believe it's at like 11.5 right now. I'm not interested in a side here. The Chiefs offense is rolling. They're second in DVOA now. I think they should score, but the offensive line injuries are a bit of an issue. I think trends would point you towards an under here, and maybe those Chiefs offensive line injuries help a little bit. Mahomes, home unders, 63% in his career, best of any current starter. And then primetime unders outside of Thursday is still 61% since 2019, 59% this season. So under 48 if you want. Chiefs second half unders have been very good. So if you want to wait and just do a second half under as they kind of just presumably run out a lead there, maybe that's the way to go. So Chiefs under 48. And then I wanted to go Travis Kelce because, National Tight Ends Day. He's got minus odds, man. I can't do it. He had 3 and 5 touchdowns the last 2 seasons. It's just, I can't play a minus odds at like old school Kelce numbers. I think, too, he may have to block a little extra with all those line injuries. So I'm going to instead go with our guy that finally came back last week, Rashee Rice. 2 touchdowns last week, even though he only played about 40% of the snaps. He's now scored in 10 of the last 19 games on the field. That's over half of them. I see a plus 140 out there at $1. So I'll take a Rashee Rice score, and I'll be honest, I probably won't be watching a lot of this game.
Why don't we do Noah Gray and Zach Ertz? Let's say Travis Kelce doesn't get his love. That's probably the fun way to go. So that might be my look. And you're right about the under in these types of games. I had this in my article, but I'll reiterate. So both the Commanders and Chiefs are both on extended rest here on Monday Night Football. Since 2018, when both teams are on extended rest, the under 114, 71, 61%. It's been pretty good recently. All right. Anything else here on Monday Night Football?
Let's do hot read.
All right. If you want to tail some of these Monday Night Football bets, make sure to look for the quick slip link in the podcast and video description, or go to actionnetwork.com/betnow, BETNOW, bet now. You can also find those quick slip links live in the YouTube chat if you're still hanging out with us. All right, Brandon, I think we've teased them long enough. What are your hot read plays for next week? Week 9. Can't believe it. Week 9.
I can't believe it's week 9. November football already. It's ugly out there. There are a lot of really high lines next week. There are a bunch of injuries. We've talked about like 3 or 4 spots I'm already looking at, so maybe they make it into my pick 6 for next week, but we're waiting on injuries. Like, how can you take Dallas when maybe Kyler comes back and that line moves up a little bit? It's sitting at 3 right now. There's a bunch of those sorts of games. So I'm going to take an ugly under. Broncos at Texans, under 40.5. So I always go through Sunday morning or really Saturday night and say, okay, what hot reads am I looking for? What's the line I'm hoping to be able to grab Sunday night? And I had in my notes, so this game was 38.5 this morning, and I wanted anything under 37.5 or better. Instead, we watch both these offenses put up a big number. So this line is rising right now. 39.5 a lot of books, 40. There's 140.5 out there. That 40 is important, so be sure to get that if you can. Typically, that would make me not play this because if the line is rising, that's not a very good hot read. You probably can wait a little bit in that scenario and maybe get the other side of it, get another point or two. That's going to be valuable there. I'm just going to trust my gut. It's Broncos Texans. This is always an under for me. I think the line rising here, I think that's an overreaction to today. Houston scores 26. Congrats. It's the 49ers. They have a corpse of a defense out there, and you only scored 26. That's not that many. Denver scored 44. Obviously looked very good. Again, by my metrics, these are the two worst defenses in the league. Not Houston and Denver, the teams they just put up the points on today. And they're very banged up defenses. So I think we're overreacting to points today. Denver, 23 points a game before today. Houston had a big game against Baltimore a few weeks ago. Outside of that game, 18 points a game for the Texans on the season. We don't need to explain about the defenses here. Like Texans D awesome, Broncos D is awesome. Houston's line against Nick Bonito and all the pass rush, probably not going to go that well for CJ Stroud. This is not San Francisco anymore. Denver, check down city against all that Houston pressure coming at you. I just don't see this going that well. I think, too, the Surtain injury could also be a little bit why this line is rising, especially if Nico is back. They can't get Nico the ball anyways. Like, I'm not going to really move too much based on that. Denver last season, when they faced a top 12 defense offensively, they only scored 15.5 points a game. This is not an offense that I trust. And I know I just faded Denver this week today. I know it didn't go well because they dropped 44. But I'm fading the offense this time here, trusting the defense. On the season, Houston has now had already 4 of its 7 games below 40. That hits are under here. Denver's had 4 games like that as well. They've combined for 6 games at 32 or below in their games. So this, to me, smells like mineshaft season. We may have to come back for that. Houston 5-2 to the under, best in the NFL. Denver 5-3, 2 of the top 5 under teams on the season. Thank you for the 40. I'll take the 40.5. Give me the under on Houston, Denver.
Yeah, and I see that line kind of going down a little bit right now. Like I even see some books kind of shading. So I expect it to kind of go down, especially with some of the news throughout the week. But Nico, Surtain, a lot to wait for there. All right, that'll do it here on the Action Network podcast for our NFL Week 8 recap episode presented by DraftKings. Give us a like on the YouTube video before you take off. We really appreciate it. And also, go to actionnetwork.com/pro and use the promo code POD20 for $20 off a year of Action Pro. If you haven't yet, check out our new AI quick slip bot on X. Just tag Playbook at Playbook and tell it to grab whatever bets you're looking for, and it'll create a quick slip link for you in a matter of seconds. We will be back for Action Island before Monday night's game right here on Action Network's YouTube page, as well as more NFL bets from Brandon, the six-pack from Raybon and Stuckey, anytime touchdowns, and more on the podcast feed next week before week 9. Thank you for listening. Good luck with all your bets this week. Bonne chance.